Hey, Jeff, we're recording this on Friday because I'm in Virginia.
Yes.
That's a little inside joke there that'll make us laugh for quite a few years after this. What an exciting week in hockey. We're only going to get up to Friday because I am out of town. But what'd you think of it so far? I'll tell you what you told me what you think afterwards. I just thought there was just a lot of moving of pieces. I thought it was a game of Risk, and everybody lost 12 players.
Yeah, it was insane. The amount of money that was spent, some good trades, and some big names moving around. It was pretty crazy, and maybe you were saying it to me earlier off the air. I can't remember. We were talking earlier in the day, but there was some really nice pieces added, but nothing that you would sit and go, okay, that's it. They're on their way. Although I will give Tampa Bay credit. They've made some really sneaky pickups for their bottom six forwards on their fourth line, most likely. And they've made some additions to their defense with some veteran guys. And so Tampa Bay, sneaky, no cap space, somehow is able to attract guys to come there. And everyone sees what's going on, right? So why not be a part of it?
I say that Tampa will be in the Final Four at least, if not the final one again next year. Yeah. That was impressive, and they got Perry in there. It seemed like Montreal didn't put a big press on for Perry, and he was able to walk away fairly easy. So,
yeah, I think the big thing that I took away from that was him getting 2 years. So he gets 2 years from Tampa. Corey Perry, we're talking about
$1 million a year.
$1 million a year, great money. Goes down to Florida, no state tax, great weather. What a kind of way to kind of finish it off. I would expect this will be it for him. He's got a really good chance at a cup again. He won one in Anaheim when he first got started, but he's been in the finals the last 2 years, and he's very noticeable come the second half of the season and into playoffs. And then they got Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, who was in Vegas and then the last couple of years in Colorado, who's a great penalty killer, good on draws, and a really good fourth line guy. So if you sign Maroon back there, and Maroon, all he's done is won 3 cups in a row, your fourth line looks unbelievable. And don't forget, you got Joseph, and I think it's Colton, those 2 young guys that were a big part of the finals. They'll probably slot in somewhere on your third line. So,
well, that was the thing that I noticed when we're talking about that, how nobody made a change where you went, Well, Tampa didn't make a change where you went, oh, now they're weak. They stayed exactly the same level. So, that's,
you'd have to be concerned. And they signed Zach Bogosian on their D, who was there for a cup last year or 2 years ago, I guess. So a lot of teams improved themselves, but Tampa did not go backwards in my view at all.
And I love this Pat Maroon playing in a rollerblade tournament this weekend.
Is he?
Yeah. It was funny because somebody that took a picture of it, and he was standing there, and unless it wasn't him, and it was just a dude that really looked like him, he was standing there listening to a coach giving pointers weeks after winning the Stanley Cup. Some guys just never clue in. It was like, all right, guys, here's the thing. I'm a mechanic, but here's how you're going to win this silver. Right?
Yeah. Just open and close the gate for them. Just let them in, let them out. Don't get in their head. Don't try and talk to them because they'll tune you out. But
who do you think lost in this? Who was the big loser?
Well, I think.
Can I interrupt before? I seen something online. They said the biggest loser was Calgary, and then it said underneath location.
I don't know. If I was going to say from a fan base perspective, if you talk about a team, it's tough to kind of peel back that one. But from a fan base, obviously Vegas lost Marc-Andre Fleury and they lost Ryan Reeves. Yeah, I was thinking about it last night. Probably 60-70% of the jerseys, and there's lots of them in T-Mobile for a Vegas home game. I have 29 and Fleury on the back. Reeves is also very popular. And, it just goes to show you time marches on and the Knights are doing what they think they need to do.
Right.
So from a fan base perspective, you still have, the William Karlssons in town, and you got, Marcia shows here, and, you've got Stone, who's become a real fan favorite. But fan base, I would say Vegas, just because of the players who they lost were so popular, and Marc-Andre Fleury was just the face of the whole program. So I know it was tough to move both those guys, but I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you could.
It's interesting. It's interesting with hockey because I think hockey players embed themselves into the community more than any other sport. So they become part of that community, and it's harder for them to let go. But you have to do it. It's a business at the end of the day, and it's a struggle for the business community not to treat humans like a bottle of wine. And also, bottles of wine go bad, and you don't want them to go bad while they're sitting on your shelf. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. And, the conversations that must have been had to, when they figured that they had to move on would have been very tough. And, even me, I mean, I don't, other than just living in Vegas and going and supporting the Knights, even when, both those guys have been such a big part of the community, and specifically Fleury, you could kind of tell talking to people around town, it affected them. And I can't say it didn't affect me to a certain degree either. So, and you know what, I don't have, a dog in the fight. I just have I like to see them do well. I think they've been fantastic for the league. And that's sad. But think
about how much weight the whole community will lose because the Fleury would win them a free 12 donuts every 2 weeks. So.
That's right. We couldn't wait to go get our donuts. I will give a quick plug for Krispy Kreme, because Krispy Kreme, whenever there's a shutout at home for the Knights, the next day you could go get a dozen donuts for each ticket.
For each ticket. So if you took 4 people in the game, it was like 4 dozen donuts, and they honored them. Holy shit, they honored them.
We had that one time, I think when you guys were here, we had 48 donuts. So I'm not sure we had that many, but yeah, you go in there.
I'm sure we didn't eat them. We just handed them out.
They were giving rain checks away because they couldn't make it fast enough.
Birds are getting diabetes in Vegas. There's so much sugar out there.
Yeah. So, but moving on from the fan base.
Hold on a second. Lou, go out there. Get out. Come on.
Oh, there he goes.
You can hear him.
Oh, you're on his. People that might not know, you're in Lou's room right now.
I know, I am. He's just like, what?
He's like, get out of my room.
Yeah, this is where I sit and look at the other dogs.
I think I'm trying to think of who the biggest loser was out of this whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if you can say that right now. If there was one,
I don't think Edmonton got any stronger at all. So I would say they were not. They would be in the bottom 5. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm going to talk because I'm going to talk about a team that lost but is trying to gain in the long run, and that's Arizona. So Arizona moved some guys out. They moved a bunch of money out, and they took some guys back that only have 1 year left. So Arizona probably is a team that, if you wanted to look at who lost the most, they lost Connor Garland. He's a really strong young forward. Love to watch him play. He's in Vancouver. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he had a big contract, but he's still a very good defenseman. He went to Vancouver. And then as Mr. Bagg comes back in, Lord Bagg comes back in, I was talking about Arizona being the team that I think maybe lost the most, even though they gained on draft picks and young guys. Mm-hmm. They did do a good job holding Colorado for ransom. When they traded Darcy Kemper, they got a first rounder and a good young D and Connor Timmins. So they did pretty well in some areas, but they look more like an expansion team than Seattle. Yeah, I don't know how competitive they're going to be because, in my view, and we'll see after 25 or 30 games if I'm right. But I've always thought the Central Division was the strongest division, and they step in with the heavyweights in that division next year. Colorado got Landeskog back, and they got Kemper, is just as good as any other top-flight goalie in the league, in my opinion. Maybe Vasilevsky, obviously Fleury this year had a Vezina season. Hellebuck's up there too, but those, and Grubauer was there, but I think Kemper can really play well for him. Dallas is going to come back loaded. They want a piece of it.
Where did Grubauer go?
He went to Seattle.
Oh, he did, huh?
Yeah. So, and then Minnie's getting better. Winnipeg made some nice deals to shore up their back end, and they've got really good forwards.
Yeah, they were weak in their back end, and they really tried to make a difference. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, and that's why we talk about Flats, who's behind you there, their goalie coach.
Goalie coach is going to be very happy. He's not going to be that grumpy guy that you see in that net right there. He's going to be happy-go-lucky, sitting in the box, having a free donut from Marc-Andre Fleury. He's let's go to Vancouver now. Vancouver.
It took you a while, 10 minutes, but you got
I held off.
about Vancouver.
Now is when what's her face clicks off from Las Vegas because we're
Terry
talking.
Meyer, Terry's. Yeah. But we started with Vegas. I mean, at least we got a couple of her guys in there early.
Yeah,
but, she's like, Ian. All he talks about is the North, which really Terry Meyer. If you think about it, Ian's talking about the Pacific, which is the division the Vegas Golden Knights are in. So
yeah, Terry. So wake up, and don't just think that your team's the only one in your division, Terry. Not my fault, Terry. Take that, Terry. She's a very nice lady. She likes the wine. Anyway.
Correct. I feel like there should be a ding after that. But we can't take Terry down because she's awesome. We can take her husband Chris down though.
Oh, Chris is
so Chris,
yeah,
he's out of control. But
I love him. Hey, you got any new merch? That's what he says to me. Hey, you got any new merch? I need some new merch. I'm like, oh God. I'm a comedian, not a shirt salesman. You son of a bitch. Now let's go to the greatest team in the world, the Vancouver Canucks.
All right, let's go there.
Why? Tell me this. Explain to me this, because nobody can explain to me. So you buy out Holtby, and then a day later he's picked up, like within 24 hours, probably before he hits the ground, he's picked up by another team.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you could have traded him and got something back or whatever. I thought that was a waste of what was going on. Explain.
Yeah, I think, here's what they did there. He was, I think, I'd have to look. He was $3 or $4 million as a backup, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bit less. But obviously the numbers work in Vancouver's favor to buy him out because it's less of a cap hit. So that's what they did, but they brought Halak in for $1.5 million. So if you think about it, they're still paying, on next year's cap, 3 goalies. Right, because there will be a charge for Holtby.
A fourth, because they're going to have a charge. They still have a charge for Luongo still.
Yeah, so they'll still have one more. But the team that picked him up is Dallas, who's got Ben Bishop on long-term injury right now. So we don't know when he's coming back. You got Hudobin. You got Jake Ottinger, who's a really good young goalie.
My favorite Mexican restaurant is Hudobin in all the airports.
He's one of the most entertaining guys in the league. So, and then you put Braden Holtby there. And so what you're hoping is that, after a year of being a backup, because Holtby was a starter the whole time and behind a little bit stronger defense and Vancouver threw in front of him last year, you are able to get the Braden Holtby of the Washington Capitals Stanley Cup run, which would really be beneficial to them. So we'll talk about Vancouver real quick. I talked about it real quick while you were gone, chasing the dogs out of the room.
Oh, you brought up Vancouver always gone, you son of a bitch.
No, I talked about the trade that they made. So they picked up Connor Garland. Vancouver did a fantastic job.
Like it.
This guy, their power play, Vancouver's not top 5 power plays next year. I might even say on a limb, top 3 in the league. Top 5 for sure, but top 3. Okay, so put that in your pipe and smoke it, because I think that's how good these guys are going to be with Pettersson back, Garland, Horvat, Quinn Hughes on the point, and Besser, I guess, is going to be the one-time side. So they got lots of guys. Yeah, write it down. And then Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who we talked about while you were gone, chasing the dogs, is really going to help shore up their D. So, they got.
Who do you think? Who do you think's the better in that trade, Garland or OEL?
Well, if he plays, the defenseman Ekman-Larsson plays like he can, he's going to eat up 20 to 25 minutes a night. And so you're going to put, the emphasis more, it's going to swing more towards him. But I love Garland. And people up in Vancouver, I don't know, and the people up in Canada, oh, well, I guess most of the people that listen to this show are in Australia. So the people in Australia, if you weren't watching him in Arizona, watch Connor Garland in Vancouver. He's going to be lights out. And he's so much fun to watch. So Vancouver is going to be really exciting to watch next year. The big thing in Vancouver, Ian, and before Terry starts clicking us off, is they're going to need to figure out what they're going to do with their bottom six forwards.
Right.
I think they brought Sutter back, which is good, but they're going to have to put some youth in there, and they're going to have to be patient with some of those guys, which I think they will be. They need to get faster in their bottom six and a little bit more pace, and I think they're going to do that. So I expect Vancouver after this deal to make I wouldn't say a quantum leap, but I think that they'll be back contending for a playoff spot again, and if they get in, could be a handful, because I think their power play is going to be lights out.
I like it. One more question about Vancouver. Poolman. Trent Franson seems to feel like he's the same thing. Though he's read that he's the same thing as who's the tall guy? Myers.
Oh, Myers. Okay, so
kind of Myers 2 is what they call him.
I really like Tucker Poolman, and I'm glad you brought him up. Thanks, Trent. Good job.
Good job, Trent.
Yeah, I really like Poolman in Winnipeg, and everyone's like, well, why are you always talking about Winnipeg? Because the guy behind Ian there is our buddy Flats, right? So we grew up with him. So I give it to him all year long about what I think, of what they should be doing in Winnipeg. And Tucker Poolman, Ben Sherratt was one of the guys I loved, who's in Montreal now. I loved him in Winnipeg, but he signed as a free agent. And so now Tucker Poolman got 4 years from Vancouver, right-handed shot. He's a big guy, really good skater, not going to put you through the wall like Ben Sherratt would or Shea Weber in Montreal, but he will help them. And I think he's capable of playing in your top four if he gets going, but he's going to be a really good 5 or 6D for Vancouver. So Vancouver's done a really nice job in this offseason. When it looked like they were turning into a dumpster fire, they've turned it around. Yeah, they had to give up the 9th overall pick to Arizona to kind of start getting.
No, I think that was worth it. I think that was. I don't. I from my friends that have asked, I said I like it, but let's wait until December to really make a decision whether it was a great move or not.
Did we switch places today?
In what way?
Because you're on the fence, and I'm going to say I like it right now, and I like where Vancouver's going.
I'm on the fence.
I'm not waiting.
Vancouver's broken my heart too many times. Too many times they've broken my heart when I think they've made something good. But I look forward to watching them play this year. It should be exciting. I'm going to go back to Vegas, and I'm going to go with Reeves going to New York Rangers. That should be great, just because he's going to fight every third game against Tom Wilson. That's going to be fantastic.
Well, if you and I talked about this, and everybody that is a hockey fan remembers Tom Wilson body slamming Panarin at the end of the season in New York. And then the next night, it was a complete gong show, which we haven't seen the likes of which in a long time in the NHL. And the NHL chose to look the other way and not do any kind of discipline for Tom Wilson, and just said, well, that's just one of those things that happened after the whistle where two players got tangled up. There's one difference. Tom Wilson's 6'4" and known to be able to be one of the toughest guys in the league. And Panarin is 5'8", 5'9", real high skill guy. And he's a superstar. So right away, the teams in the league are like, well, it's frontier justice again. So you knew New York was looking to acquire someone, and Ryan Reeves is one of the best guys in the business at taking care of his teammates. And there's word that they're working on an extension for another year with him. So Reeves has got one more year, I think around 1.75, and New York's talking to him about doing an extension. So he's going to be a real nice fit for them. That division is loaded with guys that are big and physical. Obviously, Tom Wilson's there. The Islanders got a couple. They got some guys. Boston's got some guys. So this is this is going to be pretty interesting. I don't know what New Jersey's got, but Philly's got some guys. That whole Eastern Conference, and I think I put Boston in there with them. They're in another division, but yeah, they're gonna love Reeves in New York. I can't imagine what it's gonna be like with him at Madison Square Gardens.
Does Vegas have a tough guy that I'm not aware of that's gonna replace Reeves, or why did you think they would walk away from him?
I don't know. I guess time's gonna tell on that deal. They are tight on the cap, for one thing. Just heard this afternoon that Alex Tuck's out 6 months. He makes around $5 million. So they're under the cap. They're cap compliant now. They got their full roster. Keegan Kolesar is a young guy that came up. He's a real physical, and he's a tough kid. He's not Ryan Reeves, but I think he might give you a little bit more upside offensively, and maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe they're looking at what Tampa Bay did and the Islanders did, where they had guys on their fourth line that could take care of business, but those guys all played a lot for them in a lot of cases. I mean, I think even in the final game, I'd have to look, but I think Tampa Bay's fourth line, the one night they won it, was up around 8, 9, 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive, because a lot of teams you'll see their fourth line in tight games, they'll get stapled to the bench. And New York Islanders are the other team who gets Anders Lee back next year from his injury is going to be right there. And they play Clutterbuck, Cizikas, and Matt Martin. They all get over 10 minutes. And to me, it's a real delicate balance. But if you can get your fourth line to 10 minutes, you're gonna be a really tough team over the 82 games to play against. And if you can play them in the playoffs, you're going to be even tougher. And to finish that thought is, I loved Reeves here. He did everything that was asked, and I'm really interested to see how that turns out too. Maybe they'll acquire somebody else at some point. But there's some still pretty tough customers in the Pacific Division. You got Cassian up in Edmonton. You got Lucic and Zadorov in Calgary. And you got Delorier in Anaheim. Evander Kane always has, it's always lively when he's playing. And usually Reeves could put a lid on some of this stuff.
Evander's awesome when he's not in financial court, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, he had a quiet. Obviously he had a lot of.
Were you surprised that San Jose? Were you surprised San Jose protected him?
I don't. That's a good question. I think you asked me that a week or so ago. I mean, this guy if he cleans it up, and as far as. I mean, we're talking about the player and what he brings. Obviously, you want high characters, individuals. He's not the first guy to run into financial trouble in sports. Okay, so we got to give him that. This guy, when he plays, and he plays with an edge. He's loud. He's amazing. He is, but he wasn't as loud last year. But he still is as effective. And so, to me, when I watched him last year, he still would be a little bit edgy. But man, when he gets going, this guy can really play, and they've invested a lot of money into him. And they probably didn't want to see that disappear up, 2-hour flight up the road to Seattle, because if they picked him up, that gives him a top line left winger right away. So I think they're going to try and keep working with him. If he cleans his, able to get himself together off the ice financially. That'll probably help him on the ice, because it'll help keep his head clearer than, we all have had debt. Nobody likes that. And I think it affects us.
Nobody likes that.
Anyways, we'll see what he does.
Enjoys debt more than me. I love debt.
so do I. I think that's maybe why we're doing this.
This is why our debt to society. Yeah. Let's see. One more team. We'll go with one more team. What
else was going on out there?
We got to keep some stuff. We got to keep some stuff for upcoming weeks. We don't want to talk about everything that happened right now.
This is your way of saying we got to try and keep it under 30 today.
That's right. That's why I'm saying. Well, we can't go too crazy, because I'm going out of town.
You are, and you know what? Here's a big secret. So am I.
What?
Yeah, can you believe that? That's what we're doing on a Friday. So
I can't believe it.
Maybe I'm going to be in Virginia Beach.
Oh, that'd be
nice. Is that where you're going?
That's where I'm going. I'm going to Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
I'm also going to Atlanta. I'm going to Atlanta. On my thing on my website, you have to put a description of what's going on, and I say Atlanta had the Olympics this year. Japan has the Olympics, but Atlanta gets Ian Bagg.
Hey, you just hope there's a few more people in the stands.
Yeah, it's funny. I hear them talking about complaining to empty buildings all the time in the Olympics. I've been doing that for years. I've been COVID compliant for years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's been all kinds of social distancing. I've
been well, just don't. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is we got to wrap this up. Let's talk about Wade real quick.
Okay.
Wade Flaherty grew up in a town called Terrace, British Columbia. He played hockey with Jeff Sharples. Then he took a very interesting way to the NHL, didn't he?
Yeah, he played for a number of different junior teams. And actually on my right shoulder here, that's a Kelowna Wings practice jersey. And so Flats and I played together for a cup of coffee in Kelowna, and then he went on and played for some different teams in the Western Hockey League. He played, I believe, in Williams Lake in the BCJHL. So, yeah, he paid his dues. And then he was even in the East Coast League for a while, worked his way up, had a good run at it. And now, for people who don't know, he's the goalie coach, assistant coach in Winnipeg. And nobody was happier after they got Corey Dillon and Nate Schmidt than Flats was the other day, because now he's got some goalies. He's got some defense play in front of his goalie Hellebuck there. So we'll talk about him. We'll keep talking about him, but I like what Winnipeg did. They're going to be very competitive this year. And that's, I think we were talking about Flower going to Chicago. Obviously, he really helps them. And it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I just, my takeaway from this last week was I was glad to see Landeskog sign back in Colorado.
That made me happy too. It made me happy too. I'm going to go back to your jersey for a second with the Kelowna Wings. It's an apple inside. So the Red Wings are a wheel. Question for you: Were the Wings, the Kelowna Wings, affiliated to Detroit at all?
No, they were their own thing, and of course the apple was inside, basically where the wheel is in Detroit, because there's a lot of orchards in the Okanagan Valley where Kelowna is. But now there's a lot more wineries, I think, than orchards. So maybe we should put a grape in there. I don't know, but yeah, back in the day, used to be a lot of orchards. Now it is.
I remember being young and hearing after you got drafted. Oh, of course he got drafted by Detroit. He played for the Kelowna Wings. That's why I had to ask.
Yeah, no affiliation.
People were dumb back then. They're smart now, and they're smart when they listen to this goddamn podcast. I'll probably have to bleep that out. We're gonna wrap it up. Anything else you want to say to the people?
I think just a couple shout outs this week. Okay. There's a couple. Obviously, you got to shout out Marc-Andre Fleury for everything he's done for the league, what he did for the city of Vegas. That was a tough one. And I know we talked about Vancouver and Vegas a lot today, but that's a tough one. Ryan Reeves was another guy that came to town, and he just kind of helped breathe so much air into the team, the organization. Both those guys did. Obviously, Fleury was here right from the start. Reeves came, I believe, near the end of year one, I believe. And then the young gymnast, I want to shout out the U.S. Girl, Lee, last name is Lee, who had all the pressure on the world on her over in Tokyo and ended up winning the gold medal in the all-around, which is really something else. And when Simone Biles, who's the greatest gymnast ever, she wasn't in the finals. And this young gal, who was 18 years old from Minnesota, came in. And also to Jamie Alexiak's sister, we've got to get a plug in for Canada, the most decorated medalist and definitely swimmer ever for Team Canada at the Olympics, and she has had a great week over there as well. So I get two shout outs for the Olympics and 2 shout outs for hockey. Yep.
Good for you. I've just got one shout out. That goes to the Hawk for listening to me on Adam Carolla on Monday and telling me that was funny. Thanks, Hawk. Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Hawk.
Love tall.
Love tall.